Hello and welcome to the very first mock draft of 2024. This is the We Ball podcast. I'm Luke Crummich. With me, as always, is Tyler DeSena. Tyler, how we doing? Are we ready for 2024?
Ready? I'm not sure. We just wrapped up 2023, but hey, we had to get this mock draft to you. Luke's a lot farther along than I am. I pretty much just started, had to go back home from college, and scouting has not been the number one priority, but he knows a lot about just about every guy in this first round. So hopefully we can both combine to give you some solid information, and this should be a fun experience.
Yeah, so I'm going to preface this with the fact that I have watched 67 players, at least two games each. Um, there's more
Human.
on the way, but I was on a kick. I didn't have much to do because my finals were done. So I just grinded through and it allowed me to be way more prepared than Tyler for once. So it's a great feeling. But we're gonna get started. Tyler, you are gonna be the odds, which basically means you have to make one less pick than me because we all know who number one is gonna be. So take it away, buddy.
I feel bad for Cardinals fans because they have a quarterback on their roster who, like, a lot of people are really high on. I like Kyler Murray a lot, but I feel like everyone is assuming that Kyler will not be a Cardinal. And there's really only one guy you can pick to go number one overall when your draft is based off Super Bowl odds and the Cardinals have the number one pick. So, with that number one pick, I'm taking Caleb Williams. And you said it best when you said this is the only guy who has a Mahomes comparison. Like, this is just one of the most physically talented quarterbacks we've seen come out, who's also extremely refined as a passer. This isn't somebody like Anthony Richardson where you need like a mechanics overhaul. This is somebody who already would be one of the more accurate passers, like already is one of the more accurate passers in this draft class, on top of the fact that he's a physical freak, has, great rushing ability. And the playmaking is the big thing. The dude makes a bunch of off script plays. That's the reason that the Mahomes comparison is there. He's going to be the guy this entire cycle. It's the biggest prospect we've seen since Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to be fun to watch him play this season.
Yeah, it's like if Bryce Young was in the correct body for his skill set, is how I put it. Like he's a little bit better than Bryce in certain areas, but I don't think he's mentally as far along as Bryce is in certain areas as well. But he's 6 foot, and that's what matters. Caleb Williams is going to be the guy. I think it's, we're talking Lawrence Luck levels of hype. So it's going to be a lot of fun to not have to worry about who QB1 is for an entire year because that is always the worst part of being on draft Twitter. Moving on to pick number two, which this is actually the Cardinals pick. Pick number one is the pick they got from the Tennessee from the Texans. Fun fact, people are always confusing that. So number one or number two overall with their own pick, you get a quarterback. You can get the best wide receiver prospect we have seen in a very, very, very long time. Like I'm talking better than Waddle, Chase, all of those guys. He's better. He's better. I promise you, he's better. Marvin Harrison Jr. is 6'3". He's not tiny like his dad. He's got the ability of his father where, he can route run. He's got sure hands. But the thing that sets him apart is his awareness in the air and his body control. This dude moves like a video game in the air. You can't explain how he's able to get his body to where it needs to be in an instant without saying he's just a freak. Like that is the only explanation for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Every single Ohio State receiver has this weird freakish ability where they can jump and contort their body in super weird ways. We saw it like on the NFL level this past year with Garrett Wilson. You see it with JSN. And then Marvin Harrison is just the next evolution of that. He's doing it more often and better than everybody else. And there's a reason that we're talking about a generational wide receiver prospect almost as much as we're talking about a potentially generational quarterback prospect. This guy is that good. And another guy that's that good is the number 3 pick here for Tampa Bay, who I guess has the third worst odds. Obviously, brought in Baker Mayfield this offseason. QB situation, not looking great. And we're taking Drake May here. Obviously, I feel like these are the QB 1 and 2. It's hard to separate them right now. There's going to be people that come draft season are definitely going to have Drake May as their QB1, and I understand why. The processing, I feel like everything is showing in flashes, and it shows a lot. And honestly, it's enough that he would be a first-round pick if he came out last year, but the jump that you can anticipate from Drake May if the supporting cast is, anywhere remotely, near competent is just, I mean, the dude already like processes at a pretty high level. I feel like the number one thing is he just sometimes gets paranoid in the pocket and it causes him to make bad decisions, whether it's, sometimes maybe taking off and abandoning a read, or if it's, just booking it out of the pocket or making a bad throw, even though it was a strong decision. I feel like if he can just get a little bit better under pressure, we're talking about another really high level QB prospect here.
Yeah, I think the thing with Drake May, like you said, is he can tend to take off. Like there could be an open wide receiver and he'll take off because it's not the wide receiver he wants to be open. I think he's got to get that out of his head and just start hitting open receivers. Like
He's also got a bit of a big play syndrome thing going on
yes.
where he
Yes.
feels like he has to make the big play constantly. You'll see him abandon underneath stuff a lot of times. The check down, he just
Yeah.
won't throw it. He'll pump, book it out of the pocket, and try to force something deep. And I mean, we get it. Like obviously you want to attack down the field, but I mean, that's something that can easily be taught, but you have to see throughout this year, like, is he taking the check down more? Is he going 1 to 4 and making that best decision? Because sometimes he puts his team in harm's way by holding on the ball a little too long.
I completely agree with you. Moving on to number four, it feels like LA could end up with being the worst team in football this year, which would write a great script for Caleb Williams to stay in LA, the face of the league in the second biggest city. Like it would make a lot of money for the NFL. But we don't care about that. We're going with a guy who was rated higher than Caleb Williams coming out of high school. He came out a year before he was supposed to. It is one Quinn Ewers. I love Quinn's game. I think he's in for a big year this year. He doesn't have to worry about Bijan being the star anymore. The offense is going to change a lot this year, like drastically. They are going to play through him and they're going to play through Xavier Worthy. It's going to be a lot different look Texas. It's going to be a more Alabama look Texas from when Sark was at Alabama with those great wide receivers and Tua and Mac Jones. Like that is what we're going to see this year. And I think that is perfect for Quinn Ewers' development because he is going to learn so much more than he did this past year. I think he's a very well-rounded guy. Like he can do everything very, very well. He doesn't do anything great right now. If his processing can tick up a notch and go to that great level, I think everything else that he does will tick up to that great level. Obviously, not probably not like running, but that's not really, connected to his processing. I think that is the one thing that could take his game to a sky high level, and I'm expecting that jump this year, and that is why I have him at 4.
Yeah, I think we're in for a really exciting year with Texas because of the fact that you said that Sark now has him as the guy to build the offense around. And I don't know if there's a guy in like college football who's better at building offenses around his talent than Sark is, because the fact that we saw what he had to do at Alabama and the way that he, had to tinker with that offense to not only run similar stuff to like what the players were used to, but also at the same time, use his own offensive principles. We saw it on the NFL level, like we saw him on the NFL level a little bit. And like obviously that offense took some time to get off the ground, but like, I mean, he's just somebody who's done it so many times. And then we saw them, have a really strong offense with Bijan, Roshan Johnson, and really lacking Quinn Ewers for a large portion of the season. So I think that's somebody who could be in for a big year. And up next is the Colts with pick number 5 here. And I know this is a guy you're pretty high on. And
Olu.
yup, and it's Olu Fashanu going offensive tackle to the Colts. They just took Anthony Richardson in this draft. Why not go out and protect him? You've got guys like Quentin Nelson, who we expect to be in for a bounce back year. Why not go get him another offensive tackle? And this time it's one from Penn State.
He's giant and he moves. He's very raw, but he's giant and he moves. And that is what this Eagles like system loves is, this Sirianni ball. I mean, that's what they do. Like they like these huge guys to play in the trenches. And Olu is like the embodiment of that. He can get caught up in attacking the run a little bit too much, which I think he needs to tone back, but it's not that huge of a problem. Again, he has all the physical tools. He just needs to get smarter in like his football IQ and his pass rush IQ. Like he needs to know what's coming. He needs to have better anticipation, really. That's the main thing with him. And I have the number 6 pick. I would hate to have to see this. This is how I draft for all of my rival teams, for all of the teams in my division. This is how I draft. with Washington on the clock at 6, I would hate to have to guard McLaurin, Dotson, Samuel, and Brock Bowers. So I said, you know what? Screw it. I don't care that Sam Howell's still throwing him the ball. I am taking Brock Bowers. He's the new generation of tight end, right? He's a good blocker. He's also a good pass catcher, but he's so good after the run and he's so good at making plays in space that he's next level, man. The national championship offense for the last 2 years wasn't run through a running back, wasn't run through a wide receiver, wasn't run through a quarterback, wasn't even really run through their O line. It was run through Brock Bowers, and I think it will continue on the NFL level.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is an absolute freak. I mean, there's a reason that we're talking about guys at the quarterback position like Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. The only other staple we've had through this very short 2024 process we've seen so far is that Brock Bowers is going to be the guy at tight end. And the thing that we don't know is who is the next quarterback. We know Caleb Williams, we know Drake May, and here's the Falcons pick. And maybe it's just, a little bit of the throwback in me who saw, Mike Vick, big arm lefty quarterback in Atlanta so many years ago, and sees another just absolutely huge armed lefty quarterback, one of the strongest arms, I mean, I've seen, and definitely the strongest arm in this class. And somebody who I think, if the production is there, he's going to be drafted extremely high because of that arm. It's Michael Penix Jr. I mean, obviously, since coming to Washington, he's really resurrected his college career. The dude had an absolutely crazy season last year, and it's just hard to stay away from the traits. I mean, we know how much NFL teams like to bet on like positive outliers, and this dude would immediately come in and have one of the strongest arms in the entire NFL. I can't stay away from it. Get that rocket arm, pair it up with Bijan Robinson in Atlanta.
Dude, would A be so much fun? And before you come at us, everyone's saying, hey, Ritter, Ritter, Ritter. If they're picking seventh, they're moving on from Desmond Ritter. I hate to
if
break it to
if
you.
they were bad enough with what we expect their rushing offense to be the seventh worst team in the league,
They're
quarterback was
moving on,
definitely an issue.
especially in that horrible comp, like that horrible group. It's so bad.
That division's bad.
Dude, it's horrible. I mean, we've already had a team from their division pick, and that tells you everything you need to know. Moving on, this guy is just a Packer. Like I have to do this. I feel like it is my God-given duty to make this pick because this guy is a Packer in stature, in athleticism, and just in like look and name. Joe Alt from Notre Dame. I mean, come on, offensive tackle, big dude, good feet. Used to be a tight end, actually. Yeah, so he's bulked up quite a bit, but he's 6'7", dude. He's a giant. He's got some agility in him, so I really like Joel, and I think he's going to be probably one of the only good players on that Notre Dame team, which was an unnecessary shot at Notre Dame, but it's true. So he's going to be kind of forgotten, I think. Like I don't think we're going to talk about him very much because he is an offensive tackle on a bad team. Um, but Joel is going to be a very good football player for a very long time.
I mean, we know Notre Dame as like the school for offensive linemen, especially in
Yeah.
recent memory. Like they just pump them out. Like it's crazy, except for Liam Eichenberg. But
All
I
right,
mean, that's a
man.
whole different story. If we want to take unnecessary shots, I will do that at Liam Eichenberg all day. But moving on here, number 9, it's the Tennessee Titans, and we're looking for foundations of the franchise here. This team, we don't really anticipate them to be very good. We kind of seem like they're either going to start the rebuild now or start the rebuild in a year or so. They drafted Will Levis, so we're going to wait a little bit on the quarterback. But we're taking JTT from Ohio State, obviously another player that I know you're really high on, but I think this one's pretty simple. We're taking a guy that we think can be like the foundation of a defense because alongside from Jeffrey Simmons, there really aren't that many pieces on this defense. So going out and getting somebody who can stop the run, rush the passer, I think would be absolutely huge.
So let me just give you a little background on JTT.
Go for it.
6'4", 270, one of the most wild recruiting journeys I've seen in a while. The highest defensive recruit to sign with Ohio State in the modern era, which is from 2000 on. That's ridiculous when you look at who they've had on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the D line. Like that is such a nuts thing to say out loud. Um, the guy's a lot of fun, man. He does everything. He had 4 turnovers that led to 21 points, right? Like in just last year. He's had pick sixes, fumble recoveries, forced fumbles. Uh, he's really good, man. I don't know what else to say other than this is the only guy. Okay, this is one of 2 guys in this draft class who could be a Will Anderson level edge rusher. Like that, that's it. Potential, it's there. I don't know if he's gonna get there to that Will Anderson echelon of edge rusher. This is one of the only 2 guys who can do it. So that's all I have to say about JTT. He's so much fun, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're up next here at number
I
10.
am. This is the other guy. Hey, Bears. Tennessee gets one of the Will Anderson level guys. Here's another one. Dallas Turner, Will Anderson's partner in crime. That was my alarm. That I don't even know why that was on. Um, but this is the guy who has to be the cornerstone of the Alabama defense this year. Like it has to be him. I don't really know what's holding him back from becoming a top edge rusher, other than he needs to work on a second pass rush move. But he's lanky, he's strong, he's so fast. He's got a good pass rush set. Like he has it, he just needs to utilize it more instead of just purely beating people with athleticism. I think he gets caught up in the fact that like, hey, I'm better than you, I'm faster than you, and I'm stronger than you. He gets caught up in that a little bit. I think he needs to work on that, but he's going to be the staple of Nick Saban's defense this year, and he's going to have to be the leader, and he won't have Will Anderson to rely on. He's going to have to be the Will Anderson of this defense.
Yeah, that should obviously help his draft stock if they succeed because, there is no Will Anderson to lean on. Like you said, this can be the guy. And if he shows that he is the guy, especially not having that guy across from him, I mean, who knows how high the ceiling is for Dallas Turner. But here's another Alabama player, and I'm going to kind of let you cook on this one because,
It's
I
my guy.
why wouldn't I? It's your guy.
It's
It's
my
an
guy.
Alabama player. It's number 11 here with the Las Vegas Raiders, and we took Kool-Aid. I mean, there's not much else to say. You go for it. Let's hear it.
The man who plays with a smile on his face, but is a dirty lockdown corner. They play zone at Alabama. It's what they do. But this guy could lock you up in man if he has to. He's not going to move around the field to follow your number one receiver in college. Like you're not going to see that on tape. He's going to stick to his side, and the quarterback is not going to throw to that side at all throughout the game. During that Tennessee game, where the passing attack was incredible, they did not target Kool-Aid McKinstry one time. Hendon Hooker did not target a player going against Kool-Aid McKinstry one time in that Tennessee game. And that was one of the best air attacks we've seen in college football, like in recent years. That game was the best passing attack I've seen in a long time. And they did not target Kool-Aid McKinstry. This kid started as a true freshman on Nick Saban's defense at corner. That doesn't happen, especially not at outside corner. That is the type of player we're talking about here. That's the level of prospect we're talking about here. He's so athletic that he played on Alabama's basketball team as a freshman until Nick Saban said, "No, you're too good," and pulled him off the bench. This is who we're talking about when we're talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm so excited to watch him this season.
Yeah, he's certainly going to be an exciting player, I think, especially with, they lost a bunch of secondary pieces. So, like we were talking about, it's Dallas Turner's defensive front, it's Kool-Aid's defensive backfield. And I think that that's going to be a lot of fun. Moving on here, it's number 12, and it's the Chicago Bears. And this is where we start picking for need, but it's another player that I'm really excited to watch this season because I got to see a little bit of him, especially watching Michael Penix. It's Roma Dunze, the wide receiver from Washington as well. I think of this dude and I think of like you would think of like you see him being shifty and you're like, okay, yeah, this dude's probably 5'11, 6 foot, right? No, 6'3",
Yeah.
212 is the listed height and weight.
And he's got great hair.
Dude, the hair is insane. It's pretty fire. And I have to say, like the dude, I think this is somebody who we could see totally shoot up as the second receiver. And the same way that we aren't really talking about any other quarterbacks other than Caleb Williams. Obviously, we're not going to talk about many other receivers other than Marvin Harrison Jr. But I think Rome is the guy where you're just talking about like who would I have to bet on come a year from now that we're looking at as wide receiver too? It's got to be him.
Listen, the quickness in which he switches from receiver to runner is ridiculous. Like He goes into rack mode as soon as the ball is secure. He's in rack mode. He does need to catch with his hands a little bit more. He does tend to catch with his body, which can become a problem. We all know Jalen Waddle, things like that. But dude, I don't care. Like he's 6'3", who can take the top off the defense, but is a smooth and fluid route runner. He just moves different. I'm so excited to watch him this year. And I think he might be the reason that Penix gets drafted in the first round. Like that's how good this kid is. All right, Tyler,
Yeah.
you're back up with the next pick.
I mean, number 12 was my pick. So it
No, it
is
wasn't.
you
I'm
took.
I'm evens.
Okay, I guess you are. I don't know why I kept going there. Oh yeah, I let you cook on Kool-Aid. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. We're at number 13. I can't count, it seems, but since we're talking about we let Luke cook on the Alabama guys, and this one is my turn. I might as well cook on my FSU guy here in Jared Verse, who we're taking number 13 for Denver. And I mean, the player is this is somebody who I think kind of needed the extra year. I know we talk about him as somebody who would have probably gone, day one or at latest day two. But Jared Verse, like, I think it all comes down to consistency. We see that there's multiple moves in the bag. The dude can do a lot of different things, but it just comes down to how consistently can he do it. Because his best performance of the year was his first performance of the year against no, it wasn't the first game, but I think it was one of the first games against LSU. He absolutely tore that offensive line apart. The dude looked like, hey, this could be a top 5 pick in the draft. And he had a couple other performances like that, but he's just somebody who needs to get the plan down and start hitting it consistently. And if he does that, I think we might be looking at 13 a year from now as the pick for Jared Verse and think, hey, we had him a little bit too low.
Yeah, I like Verse a lot. Again, could have came out last year, but I'm excited that he didn't because maybe he'll go to the Senior Bowl. Moving on to pick number 14. New England's on the clock. We know that Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are besties. They like to hang out together. And whenever Bill Belichick can, he wears Alabama gear. So I decided to take an Alabama guy. I took JC Latham, who I'm a big fan of JC. I think there are a lot of things the guy has to work on, but he's so gifted and he came in at his first games as a starter and was rock solid for Alabama. He's versatile. He's going to play every spot. He's finally getting a chance outside tackle this year, which I'm very excited to see how that works out. Right now, he's only played guard on both sides, so that's a plus. But now he's getting a chance to be the bookend tackle for whoever the quarterback is going to be at Alabama. And right now, there are three options, and they all play differently. So he is getting to work with a lot of quarterbacks, which is probably very good for his development because one likes to run, one likes to throw deep, and one likes to throw short and run. So there's a lot going on in Alabama, and it is going to help JC's development tremendously. He moves very well for his size. He's consistently going to land second level blocks in the run game. Like it's what he does. He bulldozes linebackers for fun, eats them for breakfast. So I'm really excited to see how he develops this year.
Yeah, I think he can be a really fun player, especially in New England. They like those road grader types who just go out and absolutely maul. And I think that's really what he could be, especially if, playing a lot of positions, they kick him inside to guard. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But moving on here, I think another player team destination that would be a lot of fun. It's Jeremiah Trotter going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We just saw Trenton Simpson, who is another linebacker on that Clemson defense, get drafted in the third round to the Ravens. So why not bring another one of them to the AFC North? When you were looking at Simpson, you're like, this could be a first or second round guy. And he wasn't even the best linebacker on his team. Trotter is
It wasn't even
100%.
top two.
Exactly. There were two linebackers. There's one that, I mean, we're not talking about necessarily here, but hey, we'll definitely get some stuff to you on soon. That, like, Jeremiah Trotter is just that guy. There's not much
Yes.
else to say. He is the linebacker prospect right now. And I think bringing that to Pittsburgh, especially with the draft that they just had, would be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, we didn't think that a linebacker would go in the first round last year. Obviously Campbell did on a little bit of a reach, but we like the player, so we're going to be okay with the pick. We get one here, and it's very well deserved, and he might go higher. Like to be honest with you. All right, I'm going to move on because I have to talk about another Clemson guy. Anyone who knows me knows I do not like Clemson. but I love the Clemson defense this year so much. And the guy that I like the most, this might be my favorite player in the draft, is Andrew Makuba. You are a Minnesota Viking. Putting him with Brian Flores would be so much fun. The guy can ball hawk, the guy can headhunt, the guy can cover the run, he can cover in pass coverage, he can take a tight end completely out of the conversation, he can take a slot receiver out of the conversation. The guy can play from up high to in the box with no issues. He is so much fun, and I believe he only has 1 year of starter experience. Like that's how good this guy is already. He will be the first safety off the board, in my opinion. I think there shouldn't be a question about it. Obviously, NFL teams have their favorites, but man, he's so good, and he's going to test extremely well from the looks of it. I can't wait to watch him this year, and that means I have to watch Clemson games, which stinks, but I will be doing it, and probably pretty often.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson's going to be a fun defense to watch, especially with the last two guys that were taken. And now on offense, they've got Garrett Riley calling the plays. So, yeah, there's just way too much that is exciting to watch. And another team that is a lot that's exciting to watch and players that we now have going with back to back picks here. I'll start with the first one. We talked about Marvin Harrison, but there's another receiver on this team who could just be another number one in the NFL. And we saw Houston this offseason went all in on getting their guy. They got CJ Stroud. They went on, they took Tank Dell later on to be like a complimentary receiver. But we want somebody who can be a number one. That is definitely what I believe Emeka Egbuka could be. Somebody who had flashes last season, and especially now that JSN's gone, he's going to take over that number two role there fully. I mean, obviously, he had a lot of it last season because of JSN's injury. But now, like, I feel like there isn't, the draft buzz of JSN. And now we're going to see Egbuka cook. And he's somebody that I'm really excited to watch and somebody who I think can be a top end receiver at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the fact that like we like Rome a lot, but we could have teammates be wide receiver 1 and 2 again. Um,
Crazy. It
and it's just so much fun, man.
Shout out to
Moving,
Brian Hartline real quick.
yeah,
Just
he's
like
so good.
it
He's
keeps
such a good
going.
coach.
Like I understand that they're bringing in top level recruits year in and year out too. Like I understand a lot of these guys are like, you know,
The guy,
yeah, like the big time recruits. But the fact that they pan out every single time, like Brian Hartline
insane,
deserves his flowers, and the dude is by far the best position coach. And now OC,
coordinator.
right? Like he was the best position coach, and now he gets his promotion. Shout out to Brian Hartline.
Moving on, we're staying with a Buckeye. I'm going Michael Hall Jr. to the Chargers. I think it's a good fit. It's a defensive lineman who's gonna, he's gonna attack. He's gonna eat up blocks. He's not necessarily gonna shed a lot of blocks and get through to the quarterback, but he is going to draw multiple people so that your edge rushers and your linebackers and Darwin James, whenever he's rushing, can cook and can eat. That's the type of player you're getting with Michael Hall. I really like him. I think he's got a lot of room to grow, so I have him here at 18.
Yeah, I think going out and getting a defensive lineman for the Chargers, especially with how bad their run defense has been the last couple of years, definitely a big thing. I talked to you and I was like, hey, who do I want to take here at cornerback when we were doing this draft? And you told me that you think Kalen King could go here. And I definitely want to hear your rationale because this isn't somebody I've watched a bunch of. And I know that you were pretty high on his draft stock being this high.
So listen, as long as you don't press him a lot, he's going to be really good. He's not really a good press corner. I'm going to be honest with you. But he's a ball hawk. He's got insane anticipation. He flips his hips. He's a fluid mover. He's got great feet. He can work in the slot in outside. He's going to get more opportunities outside now that Joey Porter Jr. is gone. He gets to be the corner one this year and go up against, the Marvin Harrison Juniors of the world. And I think that'll be huge for him. He's got all the physical tools, man, and he has good hips, which a lot of these guys who have all the physical tools normally can't flip their hips well. This is a guy who can do both. So I'm really excited to see his development this year. This is a pick where like, listen, it might not pan out and he might not be a first round pick this year, but I'm betting on the giant leap that I think he's going to take.
Yeah, I understand. Definitely betting on traits. And you're up here at 20.
All right, listen, this pick is fan service. The fan is me. I don't care. It's the New York Giants. It's my team. I'm taking Kellen Balak. I want it. I need it. Like I need oxygen. it would be so much fun with Wink Martindale. The league should be scared if Wink gets this guy. Like the same way that the league should be scared now that he has, Banks. This is that type of player where you should be scared if Wink gets his hands on this guy. He can headhunt, he can ball hawk. He's a turnover machine. Like dude. There isn't enough that I can say about him to rationalize this pick, but he's so quick, 6'3", long arms, hard to beat. He needs to just play more. Like last year was his first year starting. Um, Snaps are going to be huge for him. He's a matchup nightmare. Like he can cover slot because he's fast and tall and long. He can cover tight ends because he's long and physical and tall. Like he can do it all. And there are very, very few holes in his game other than consistency. He just needs to read the field at a little bit quicker and he will be right there.
Definitely. I think, obviously your fan service pick here. And now moving to the Detroit Lions, I'm picking for need because, we talked about the Detroit Lions draft, and honestly, I'm higher on it than most. But at the same time, there was a position that I didn't feel was filled, and that was cornerback. And we just saw them move on from an Ohio State corner in Jeff Okuda, but I want to go out and I want to get them another one, and somebody who I believe could be even better for them. It's Denzel Burke. I mean, Ohio State. I mean, there's not much else to say. Look at the amount of guys we've seen drafted in this mock draft alone from Ohio State. I believe it's 5 now already. And
Yeah.
like it just, I mean, there's so many good players on this football team, and Burke's just another one. Somebody who could truly be a lockdown corner and somebody who should be an exciting watch this year.
All right, moving right along here because we do have to make a pick for the Dolphins this year.
Yes,
Incredible.
we're back.
No more cheating. Yeah.
It's
32
gonna,
picks in the first round again.
and then this pick is gonna be 32 in real life, so it's
All
awesome.
right,
Yeah.
shut up. I'm going with kind of a tweener on the offensive line. He might be a guard in the NFL, but he's got really good traits to be a tackle, and that is Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. A lot of fun. Could have came out this year, didn't because he knew he needed to develop a little bit more, wanted more reps, wanted to win some more games because that offense is going to be a lot of fun this year. But Cooper is a mauler. He's got a mullet. He's got a nice beard. He's that type of player. He's going to be a lot of fun for that offense. If he were to go to Mike McDaniel's, dude, it would just be such a good fit because he can play the run, but he is a pass protector, but he can move if he needs to. He can pull when you need him to. He can really do it all. And he can do it all at two positions. So it's going to be a pick your poison with him. Where do you want to commit the time to developing him? He'll be better at guard at first, but I think he has higher upside at tackle. It will be a lot of fun to watch Cooper this year.
Yeah, I think, also Miami, that's a great fit. I mean, this is a team that right now just needs all the offensive linemen we can get. So I'll take any help. I mean, another excuse to talk about Liam Eichenberg, but I'll pass. As we move on here to another Florida team, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this team did a pretty solid job in the draft, I think. I think a lot of their picks were a little overblown, but this is still a team that needs guys who can attack from the interior. And Mason Smith is exactly that. I mean, I think that this team has a lot of the finesse right now to be a really good team. They've got the strong arm quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. They've got some good receivers. They've got some fun secondary players, although, they're not super deep there, but they need guys who can just go out and maul and destroy in the trenches. And Mason Smith is somebody who can do that like on the D line.
Yes, he needs to work on, kind of cloaking his movements a little bit. He kind of telegraphs where he's going to go. But he's quick enough and athletic enough that it doesn't really matter at the college level, but it will matter at the NFL level. Moving right along, this is a pick that I'm betting on potential. I'm betting on a jump. It is Miami safety, James Williams. Unbelievable player. I don't know why he's not being talked about. This is the Jets pick. Forgot to say that. We're at 24 here. He's so good. He's tall. He's got, a little bit of beef to him. He's physical. He can play in the box like a linebacker if you really need him to. Like the guy, he's good in coverage. Man, there's not enough that I can say about James Williams. I love this safety class, if you can't tell. Like I'm obsessed with this safety class. This is going to be the draft class to revive the safety position and save it from its ruins. Like it's a wasteland right now in the NFL, and this group is going to turn it on its head.
Yeah, James Williams is a guy that I got to see like play a little bit in high school. He played high school ball near me, and that dude is just he looked like Julio Jones, like
Yeah,
playing safety. If you've ever played Madden and you see the Julio Jones out of position safety card, that's what
that's what he
that's what
is.
James Williams looks like. And I think it would be an awesome fit in New York. And it would scare me pretty badly to see him leave Miami and go play for the Jets. But we move on here, and it's Seattle. And this team at 25, they don't have a lot of needs. They really could be a team that we could look at and be a true contender this year. But I figured, hey, never have enough on the interior. And that seems to be their one big need. I know a lot of people on Seahawks Twitter that are not very happy at all with their interior defensive line. They didn't bring back Quinn Ford. They let him go to the Buffalo Bills. And I'm here to replace him. I'm taking Jerzon Newton here out of Illinois, somebody who, I mean, I just think can plug up that middle, especially considering, like I said, this is a team who desperately needs it. Obviously, we don't know exactly where their needs are going to be a year from now, but anything like it is now, it's pretty much interior defensive line or bust for that team.
Dude, he's an immovable object. Like that's what he is. You can't move Newton.
And that's exactly what
He's
they
a
needed.
boulder.
They needed somebody like, I mean, obviously we're not drafting 100% for need, but I think this is one of the ones where it's just a match made in heaven for Seattle.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody knows that doing prospect interviews, talking on a podcast 2-3 times a week, it comes with a necessary confidence that you have to have. And one thing that really improves confidence is the new and improved Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped. It has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all of these goodies. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming and, dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. I am blown away by the performance and craftsmanship of this trimmer. Their fourth generation trimmer offers cutting edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. Their Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 4000K LED spotlight so you can get a more precise shave. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. If you thought that was good, but want to take your grooming even further to the next level, the Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker ears and nose hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. The Crop Preserver below the waist deodorant and Crop Reviver below the waist toner will change the way you approach your daily hygiene routine. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts in this Performance Package 4.0, the boxers and the shed travel bag. Bring your comfort in boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off with code WEBALL. That is WEBALL, WEBALL. Make sure to use it on your next purchase with Manscaped for 20% off.
So next up with the Ravens, I'm on the clock again. And this is another guy that I really wanted to put him higher, but there just really wasn't a spot for him. And it is Braylon Trice. I think he's another guy who's going to take that leap this year. He has a teammate who's a very good edge rusher who we will get to later. But I think he's going to be the guy this year. He's so lean and athletic that he just beats people with pure athleticism. So I think he has to work on his pass rush plan a little bit. He does show flashes of having really good pass rush moves, but he needs to use them. He just doesn't use them enough, and it's the Dallas Turner thing again, where Dallas Turner needs to use them. Braylon Trice also needs to use his moves, and I think he could be another, top edge rusher in this class.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, again, we're not talking too much about fit, but that's kind of the guys that the Ravens like to take. They took Owe, they took Ajabo. They like taking those guys where you can kind of work on the moves and just go get a freak athlete in the building. And another team that likes to take a certain type of player, the Cowboys love to take their A1 type of guys. They love to take those alphas, and they love to take dudes who just are Hollywood. And with the connection of Quinn Ewers and the pick right here, Xavier Worthy, I think we could be looking at a Hollywood type, a year for them, just because of the fact that Xavier Worthy is another guy. Like, we don't know who the wide receiver 2 is, But any of the guys drafted in this first round, if you told me that they were the wide receiver too, I don't think any of us would be shocked because of the fact that Xavier Worthy is somebody who can run great routes, somebody who attacks downfield at a really high level, and somebody who, when he had those games with Quinn Ewers, it was a fun connection. And I really think we're going to get that back this season. And Xavier Worthy certainly could be a big time receiver prospect.
Yeah, we always say that Jerry Jones likes Hollywood picks, and then of course he goes with Mozzie Smith this year in the draft, so he kind of made
Yeah,
us look stupid.
he totally showed us
But
up.
yeah, but that being said, at 28, I'm betting on an outlier. 'Cause I think the Bills would be willing to do that. Obviously, we're not focusing too much on teams here, but I think this would be a lot of fun. I think that betting on an outlier is something they would do. So I'm betting on the lanky, never before seen at his height and weight wide receiver out of Oregon, Troy Franklin. This is the guy who's going to carry Bo Nix so that I still have to hear about him this year, which I really, really don't want to hear about him this year. But Troy's so good that I'm going to have to. Troy is 6'3" and super lanky. You'd think he would be one of those guys who, even though he's tall, doesn't catch with his hands because of how thin he is. That is not the case. He plays strong at the catch point. He plays strong through his hands. He's a good route runner. He's going to make you miss. His feet control, his body control when in the air, chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. That is the type of wide receiver that I'm looking for when he's an outlier. I want him to be able to do all of the very basic things really well and be an outlier. It's the perfect combo for Troy Franklin.
Yeah, and with the team fit, I mean, bringing him to Buffalo, I feel like giving them a true wide receiver too would be so exciting, especially pairing him up with Diggs. But we'll see what happens a year from now. Moving on, it's San Francisco and a team that really has a need on the interior offensive line. Jake Brendel's the starting center, and he's been solid, but you can always improve and go out and get somebody in the first round that can destroy for you. And when you're picking at 29, there aren't that many needs. So we're going to take an interior offensive lineman here in Cedric Van Pran, somebody who you said can play center. And I mean, I think that could be a really exciting. I think like there's a lot of offensive line prospects this year that we're going to be looking at with big time interest. Obviously, we've taken a lot in this first round here already, including some that got in the like one that literally got in the top 5. So I think this is going to be a big time O-line class. And I think just looking at this draft, you're like, wow, there are so many positions where it's like this could be the position to watch that's kind of under the radar. And it seems like we really have an even spread, especially the fact that we're getting so many guys on the trenches.
Yeah, Van Pran is a very smart player. He plays very smart with his leverage. He knows how to use it against players. But he's also a mauler. Like he will also just mess you up if he has to. If he doesn't have leverage, he will just try and take you down any means possible. He's kind of the cornerstone in that Georgia offensive line and was last year as well. Like I know people talked about Broderick Jones, but Van Pran was the guy. Like I don't care what you say. Van Pran was the cog that made the clock tick. He's really good. He's not going to pull obviously at center, so you don't really have to worry about him moving that much. And I wouldn't be that worried about it anyways. Moving right along, listen, this is a guy who I don't really know where he's going to go. He has the ability to be a first round pick. There are some things that have to be talked about, which we're not going to talk about on here, but I did write about them in the big board. So Javon Bullard from Georgia, a piece on that. He's going to be the guy on the Georgia defense this year. Like they're obviously still going to have good D linemen and stuff like that, but he's going to be the star. Like it's gonna be Javon Bullard. He also plays star corner, which is cool that he's going to be the star and he plays star corner. But he can also play in the back. Like he can also play up high. He can play in the box. He can play all 3 positions that you want him to, with his profile that he has. So him going in the first round, even with off the field issues, I don't think is outlandish.
I mean, yeah, I think especially with a team like the Bengals who really do need a safety. And I mean, I don't know why I keep bringing up these team fits, but I think a lot of them actually do make sense.
Yeah,
And
they
if we're
just so
looking at
happen
some
to
of
be
them,
good.
like, yeah, if we're just looking at some of these a year from now, they might be fun ones. And I think Bullard's just a really talented player. And like you said, if he can make some of those issues go away, just like we talked about with another Georgia player, the stock will continue to rise. Moving on here, it's pick 31. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. And This is another guy who you're high on. It's Zion, the other edge from Washington. We talked about both guys, and I figured, you talked about Braylon Trice a little bit. Tell me what makes Zion's game different and what could potentially make him a first round pick.
Yeah, ZTF he's a really good player, and a lot of people think he's better than Braylon Trice. He could have come out last year. He chose to go back. There really just wasn't a spot for him, and I think that's why he ends up at 31 here to the Eagles. And we had to get him in this first round. Like, it was a necessity. So that's why he's going here, even though they really don't need him. But they would be very scary if they did have him. I have him at 21 on my big board, in my updated big board. He's strong on the defensive line. He's got range for days, even though he's large. Like, he's very large, but he can move. He can take you inside, he can take you outside. He's got a very high motor, and he's very, very quick off the line. So from the time that the play starts to the time that the whistle is blown, you're going to have to deal with him as an offensive lineman. He won't give up on the play. His counter moves, dude, his counter moves are his trump card. Like, that's his thing. Whatever you try to do to him, he's going to do the opposite. He's going to try and beat you with the counter. So you have to have two things in your head as an offensive lineman at all times when you're going up against him. Like, you have to have two moves in your head when you go up against ZTF. It's just what you have to do. Tyler, I made the last pick.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Did I 100% bet on a guy who I just think is going to be really, really good this year, and it's going to shoot him up draft boards because he's fresh out of the portal and now on a team with a top tier quarterback who is probably going to be the second quarterback off the board? Yes, I did. I'm going with Tez Walker from Kent State to North Carolina. Now gets to play with Drake May. Speed for days. North Carolina had Josh Downs and Antoine Green last year. Put them together and make them faster. That is what Tez is. Like, he's way better than Antoine Walker, Antoine Walker, whatever. Green. Jeez, I'm putting their two teams together.
Antoine Walker, I think, was an NBA player.
Yes, and Tez's name was Walker and Antoine. Listen, I'm getting confused because I'm so hyped up about this pick. I don't know that you're going to find another mock draft that has him in the first round, but I like to have fun. All right? That's who I am.
We are a year out from this draft. If we're not taking shots, what's the point of doing it to begin with? I think, this is the time where you can stake your claim early on somebody that you think has the potential to be a first round pick. And I think that's what makes it so much fun.
And that's what I'm doing. So he has a Spider-Man, I believe it's from the Andrew Garfield ones, as his profile picture, and he plays a lot like Spider-Man. The dude has sticky hands. He's super fast, super agile, and great in the air. That is going to be it for the first mock draft of 2024. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out the website. Link will be in the description. A lot of big things going on over at Wheatball, and we cannot wait for this huge 2024 cycle. We hope you all come on the ride with us. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, and have a terrific week.